Ladies and gentlemen, hit subscribe to this channel right now. Go to H.A. Goodman's other channel, subscribe there. Also, to my super chat, thank you. We'll do a quick live stream this evening. They have finally agreed to testify. Gee, I wonder why that took so long to agree. But they're very likely going to dodge, potentially commit perjury numerous times, and then just wait until Democrats take the House and dare Comer and congressional Republicans to get them on false statements under oath. They're probably not going to testify and give the whole truth. That's not the hallmark of Bill or Hillary Clinton. But they've agreed to testify. Apparently, we know that Jeffrey Epp was a huge donor. We'll get to that in a second. Of the Democratic Party, was at the White House a bunch of times, 17 times by one estimate. And apparently Bill flew on the plane something like 20-something times, according to James Comer. But let's listen to this, ladies and gentlemen. Hit subscribe.
All right, we have a pretty good idea of how Bill Clinton likes to relax in hot tubs. But soon he'll be in the hot seat, different type of hot seat. He'll be joined by his wife, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. They're finally agreeing to testify in the House Oversight Committee's Epstein investigation. They didn't want to be held in criminal contempt of Congress, it seems.
I think it's a shame, to be honest. I always liked him. Her, yeah. I hate to see it in many ways. I hate to see it. But, then I look at me. They went after me like, they wanted me to go to jail for the rest of my life.
House Oversight is saying that both Clintons agreed to have transcribed, filmed depositions at the end of the month. Here to tell us more, the congressman has been trying to get them to testify for years? Congressman James Comer, House Oversight Committee Chair. Congressman Comer, tell us about how...
To my super chat, Paul in Australia, thank you so much, Paul. As always, thank you so much. By the way, the absurd allegations against Trump are just that, absurd. There's no evidence. There's basically the Steele dossier all over again. This is a Democratic Party scandal. He gave $20,000 to Hillary Clinton, $22,000 to Chuck Schumer. He was texting Democrats real time during congressional hearing. The Democrats took $139,000 from Jeffrey Epp, but Trump has all of the criminal behavior. Okay, Trump took no money from Jeffrey Epp, but he has all the criminal behavior. Okay, gotcha. That's of course absurd. When you follow the money, it all leads to Democrats some way, somehow. You can look at the crypto Ponzi scheme, Harvey Weinstein, now Jeffrey Epp. All of the money trail is, there's a reason that people give to Democrats or the foundation or to, the Bidens or the Clintons. There's a reason people give that money. It's not because of speeches that are profound or give insight into, how to become a millionaire. It's for almost certainly political and legal protection. People gave money. Jeffrey Epp gave money to Democrats because where he lived in New York and in South Florida at the time, or in other places too, when he had that island, they were Democrats. He gave to Democrats. He was a constituent, according to Jamie Raskin. So anyway, it's unbelievable how this is so blatantly a Democratic Party scandal. But see, Trump's opposition is so inept and rabid. It's a combination of being inept and apoplectic. So anyway, let's continue.
This went down because last week it was they were not coming to testify. They give you the big stiff arm. Yeah.
Well, they didn't think that any Democrats would support this, but the Democrats on the Oversight Committee met with the victims, the Epstein victims, and they want everybody that's photographed with the victims, anyone that's spent a lot of time with Epstein or Maxwell. They want everyone to answer questions, and unlike President Trump, neither Clinton has ever answered any questions about Epstein. They've never done a sit-down interview. They've never talked about it. And obviously, they didn't want to come in front of the oversight.
So Jeffrey Epps survivors, if they implicate Bill Clinton, there's no evidence that Bill Clinton committed any crimes. There's no evidence that Hillary Clinton committed any crimes. But if for example, a survivor implicates or says, no, Bill and Hillary lied under oath, the entire New York Times, Washington Post, MSNBC, Daily Beast, they will all go after that survivor. This has nothing to do with the survivors. So they're going to testify. It's going to be a public spectacle, and they're almost certainly going to lie through their teeth.
Committee, we had a markup for contempt when they missed their date that they were supposed to testify, and to their surprise, a majority of Democrats on the Oversight Committee voted with all the Republicans. Then they spent a week trying to intimidate me and say our subpoena wasn't lawful, and then try to get the Democrats back together to stick to not vote for it, to make it a partisan vote, thinking they could beat it in court if it was a partisan vote. And there were several Democrats that were going to vote to hold Bill Clinton in contempt for not showing up for a subpoena. So that's how we got here. They knew they were going to be held in contempt. They knew what Steve Bannon and Navarro had been held in contempt happened to them, and they didn't want that to happen.
Yeah, so it's not a question. It's not a question whether they're going to testify. They are going to testify.
They are testifying.
And for people who don't understand the process here, I assume you would have preferred for this to be public testimony, but I imagine a good lawyer would negotiate this behind closed doors. Was that a deal breaker?
Well, no, it's going to be public because we're going to record it. There'll be an audio, there'll be a video, and there'll be a transcript. So every American's going to be able to watch the entirety of this deposition.
But didn't they offer to do it in public?
Yeah,
they said they would do it.
They said they would do it. Well, they want a hearing.
Then why not do it?
They want a hearing, Laura. And anyone who's ever watched a congressional hearing where you go 5 minutes Republican, 5 minutes Democrat, Democrats and Republicans are yelling, a substantive interview will be conducted through deposition. If they want, after the depositions, to come back for a public hearing, then my members on the Oversight Committee would love to have the Clintons in a hearing.
So I love James Comer, but I feel he's probably getting played. Okay. They're not going to wait as long as possible and probably postpone endlessly. So he had every right to hold them in contempt on the floor vote. Anyway, let's continue.
The subpoena and the contempt was about them blowing off a deposition. We're going to have each Clinton in for a day-long deposition. Then after that, if they want to have a hearing, Laura, they are more than welcome.
So that'll be very interesting, getting them to the deposition. That'll be very interesting. Again, any Jeffrey Epps survivor that contradicts the Clintons will get the entire American media who don't care about survivors. They don't care about the Jeffrey Epps story. They just think it hurts Trump, which at the end of the day, it'll hurt Democrats. This is a Democratic Party scandal. The money flowed from Jeffrey Epps to Democrats. Chuck Schumer. I mean, the money went to Democrats for a reason. Jeffrey Epps disliked Trump for a reason. He couldn't control or manipulate Trump. The thing with Jeffrey Epps is that he was very manipulative in addition to being a monster, but he was able to manipulate with money and contacts and connections. The base of power, like the way that all these publications like Guardian, BBC, New York Times, how the elites, well, who do you think the elites are in society? Hollywood, music industry, the political establishment that despises Trump, both left and right, or never Trumpers, whatever's left of them, and Democrats, media in general, entrenched political establishments like, or families like the Clintons, Bidens, Bushes. They don't like Trump. And so the elites were people that Jeffrey Epps gave money to. He gave money to them for a reason. For connections, for protection, for legal advice. He had President Obama's White House legal counsel giving Jeffrey Epps legal advice, calling him a big brother, Larry Summers resigned. Congresswoman from the Virgin Islands, Jamie Raskin, said, well, she was just texting a constituent. Hakeem Jeffries, his campaign used a firm that reached out to Jeffrey Epps. The House Minority Leader and the Senate Minority Leader either took money or asked for money through a firm from Jeffrey Epps. So how is this a Trump scandal? Because of a tip line that most of the tips regarding Trump, the most salacious, were done right before 2020 and 2025, where anyone furthering that rumor or salacious, unverified accusation that could be leveled upon the person that shares or spreads. So the Democrats today said he was accused of doing X, Y, and Z, and the most horrible, heinous. Well, yeah, that Democratic congressman, there could be a tip, the same type of unverified, salacious allegation made against him on the FBI tip line. I'm not saying anybody should, God forbid. I'm saying theoretically and using logic and basic reason. If you're spreading lies about Trump or unverified nonsense, hearsay, gossip, or an accusation, like gossip could be true, but the reason nobody believes gossip or hearsay or rumor is that it is often, almost always, false or a lie by omission or missing context or just patently not true and false. So anyway, let's continue.
A lot of women who are survivors of Epstein's are unhappy with those redactions that came out. Some of them, entire witness interviews are totally blacked out. Do you think that they should be more transparent?
They thought they released too much. I heard that, and you tell me something else. No, I think it's really time for the country to get onto something else. Really, now that nothing came out about me, other than there was a conspiracy against me, literally, by Epstein and other people. But I think it's time now for the country to maybe get onto something else.
Citizen E22, thank you. Thank you so very much. Citizen E22, thank you. So, yeah, so Trump was committing evil acts, but James Comey at the FBI, John Brennan at CIA, President Obama's intel agencies, James Clapper at ODNI, the NSA, local law enforcement couldn't find any dirt on Trump. So we're supposed to believe that suddenly some Democrats found some salacious tip line, heinous, monstrous accusations, and that is supposed to be political capital for them when all the money went from Jeffrey Epps to Democrats. And Democrats, the files have almost certainly been scrubbed beyond belief. Anything incriminating to any powerful individual person, billionaire, politician has already been almost certainly deleted. That's why Jeffrey Epps gave money, or that's why they accepted the money. The files were in the control of President Obama for 8 years, his administration, and Biden for 4 years. So there was 2 attempts on Trump's life. They convicted him and indicted him 1 million times. They created a Russia hoax, but we're supposed to believe that Trump, suddenly now the walls are closing in because of a salacious tip line allegation. Which, again, this started with Kavanaugh. Well, there was more evidence against Kavanaugh, but even then it was like there was no evidence to back up anything. Democrats have made a living off of accusing people of things without evidence. You need evidence to make an accusation. This is like basic logic, reason, basic fundamentals of law and, democracy, civility, the same things Democrats claim to care about.
What would you say to people who feel like they haven't gotten justice, Mr. President?
Something that people care about. Yeah, what did you say? Go ahead.
What would you say to the survivors who feel like they haven't gotten justice?
You are the worst reporter. No wonder CNN has no ratings because of people like you. She's a young woman. I don't think I've ever seen you smile. I've known you for 10 years. I don't think I've ever seen a smile.
Well, I'm asking you about survivors of Jeffrey Epstein,
Mr. President. You know why you're not smiling? Because you're not telling the truth, and you're a very dishonest organization.
And CNN knows very well, the journalist there knows very well that Democrats took most of the money. Democrats took, why is there no justice? Because Democrats took $139,000 from 89 to 2003. Because you had Bill Clinton and others, very close friends, going on planes, going on islands. Jamie Raskin now stating that, well, he was just a constituent of the Congresswoman, literally texting Jeffrey Epps. I mean, you can't even make this up. You can't even make this up. It all points to Democrats. It was a complete fail. It was a complete and total failure. The files were interesting. Republicans were interested in the files because, number one, they want to. Number one, this heinous atrocity is something that a lot of conservatives think goes on a lot more than media acknowledges. Or, and so perhaps it does, and they want to stop it, number one. Number two, Democrats never cared about this type of criminality. Number three, the Democratic Party had every chance for 12 years to release files. They didn't care about it because Epps gave $139,000 to Democrats. Democrats lowered his offender status in New York in 2011, according to CNN. So again, this is hello, lead farmer, hello, no PhD, hello, Paul, everybody here, Citizen E72, hello, Lisa, hello. This is a typical media fail, and it's like it's just unbelievable. But let's listen to this again.
No wonder CNN has no ratings because of people like you. She's a young woman. I don't think I've ever seen you smile. I've known you for 10 years. I don't think I've ever seen a smile.
Well, I'm asking you about survivors of Jeffrey Epstein.
You know why you're not smiling? Because you know you're not telling the truth, and you're a very dishonest organization.
So love James Comer, but I love James Comer, but I mean, I don't see them. Well, okay, if they testify, they're gonna lie almost certainly, and survivors will, the courageous. I mean, at this point right now, if what is the point of saying that the Clintons lied? Because number one, Hillary's gonna almost certainly get indicted with Comey and Brennan, with conspiracy statutes emanating from a grand jury in Florida. That almost certainly will happen next week, next month, in a couple of months in 2026. Before all of these indictments will take place before the House goes Democrat. And they could even mess that up too, but it'll be tough for Republicans to keep the House. But anyway, they won't do anything with the House but catapult J.D. Vance into the Oval Office. Actually, the best thing for J.D. Vance is if Democrats get the House. But almost certainly they'll lie under oath. They'll say, I don't recall, I don't remember, and they'll lie under oath. And it'll be very difficult to then get them on perjury. So, and that's the thing. At the end of the day, well, let's listen to James Comer.
Just whatever, we're going to come in and do the deposition. That's what the contempt was over, and that's what the subpoena was. So I think everyone knows the Clintons have agreed to the terms. They issued a statement last night, and they said they agreed to terms, and the story came out. I asked reporters, I said, then what's the date? And they said, well, we don't know yet. Well, that's a very important term, is the date. So I'm very pleased today that the terms were the rules of a standard deposition. So they're not going to be treated any differently than anyone else. And the dates will be...
or they plead the fifth. I mean, what good does that do if they plead the fifth?
In February, in the next few weeks. So the contempt motion is still on the table. The contempt of Congress is for failing to show up. This will be their third date that we've given the Clintons. and 3 strikes and you're out. The votes are there for contempt. I think there are Democrats that will vote to hold him in contempt if the Clintons miss this next date. So we're hopeful that they'll come in. We can ask questions I think every American and every curious reporter would have, and then we'll move on.
So are you open to doing a public hearing? We offer to do this in public also. Will you do a public hearing?
Look, it's going to be videoed. It's going to be the subpoena and the contempt was on a deposition. If we get to the deposition and there's something meaningful to have a hearing, if they still want some more oversight, then I think the members of my committee would love to have them in for a public hearing. So we're fine with that. But the issue here is this original subpoena and the contempt was on the deposition. So if they get to the depositions and they still want a public hearing, we'll try to do something, because I think that and I don't think it's any secret, depositions have historically been much more substantive than hearings. Hearings are unfortunately have become more of an entertainment thing. This is a serious investigation, and it's bipartisan. And again, I believe that there were going to be several Democrats that were going to vote to hold Clinton in contempt, but the ones that voted, many of the Democrats that voted for contempt in the committee called and said, let if they come in February, we want them, one more chance, and then we'll vote with them on the floor. So I've worked with the Democrats. We've worked for 6 months now with the Clintons, and I'm happy to say that I'm pretty confident they're going to come in. If they don't, the contempt vote will be in.
Mr. Chairman, Democrats are now saying that this is setting a precedent, that in the future, perhaps President Trump could be called to testify, other presidents could call to
Based on what? He wasn't on the island or went to on their plane 27 times or so. Jeffrey Epstein didn't visit the White House 17 times. He didn't take money from Jeffrey Epstein the way a whole bunch of Democrats did. So based on what? Salacious tip line? A photo of Trump and Jeffrey Epstein at a party? Well, okay, there are literally text messages from a congresswoman. Both Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer either took or implicated in fundraising with Jeffrey Epstein. So any tangent or any link or contact that Trump had with Jeffrey Epstein, who despised Trump, by the way, the Democrats have far greater contacts. Same with Uranium One in Russia. So you could look at he had contacts in the Mueller probe. It's like, well, if that's the standard, then you Democrats yet again had far greater contacts with Russia. But anyway, let's continue.
To testify. What do you say to this argument about precedent?
Well, look, it could set a precedent. I think, one of the things that we're talking about today, the video, the deposition will be videoed. That was never a thing until the Democrats set a precedent to video the January 6th deposition. So now there's a precedent to do videos. This isn't about helping President Trump. This isn't about protecting President Trump. This is about doing two things, what we've said all along: getting the truth to the American people about what happened with the whole Epstein saga, and secondly, how did the government fail the victims? That's the purpose of the
government failed the victims because $22,000 was given to Chuck Schumer. And oh, by the way, how do they circumvent the fact that he gave for a reason? Why did Jeffrey Epstein give all this money to Democrats primarily? Only $18,000 to Republican candidates. And you're likely talking about Republicans in New York, which are the more never Trump type of Republicans, let's say, from the 90s or early 2000s. So, what are we doing here? This is unbelievable. All the money goes from Jeffrey Epstein to Democrats, and suddenly it's a Trump scandal. Because they have nothing. They're grasping always at straws with Trump. But here,
the whole investigation, and it's bipartisan, and hopefully the Clintons will hopefully have some information that'll be helpful to us getting answers. One question everybody has: how did Jeffrey Epstein accumulate so much wealth? And I don't know. I don't think anyone knows. I've read every story about the Epstein. So that, and obviously the documents, the 3 million pages of documents we're going through. I know you all are going through, and we'll hopefully have had time in the next 2 weeks to have gone through all of those documents and see if there's any other questions that might be relevant to the Clintons.
So again, it's pretty unbelievable. They're going to either plead the fifth, which okay, they plead the fifth. Then, or that, I mean, can they plead the fifth? Yes. Then that happened with the auto pens. Yet again, another scandal, the auto pen scandal. The entire 10 years has been Democrats evading legal and political consequences for rampant corruption because media has obsessed beyond belief with President Trump and creating. Media had to create. Democrats and media in concert with one another literally had to fabricate hoaxes about Trump, Russia, all these were things that were not true, literally not true. And yet all the money flows from, Uranium One to the foundation and, Jeffrey Epps to the Clintons, to the Schumer, Democrats. Then you have the crypto Ponzi scheme, second largest Democratic donor. Harvey Weinstein was a Democratic donor. So it's like, it's really unbelievable how when you follow the money, it all leads back to the Democratic Party, most of the money. And yet somehow, some way, it's a Trump scandal.
Fox News alert, newly released Jeffrey Epstein court filings revealing more alleged ties to many people, including Bill Clinton. In a deposition, Epstein accuser Johanna Schoberg was asked, quote, "Did Jeffrey ever talk to you about Bill Clinton?" And she replied, "He said one time that Clinton likes him young," referring to girls. Our next guest says this just raises more questions about what Mr. Clinton knew. Washington Free Beacon reporter Alana Goodman joins us from D.C. Alana, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Bill Clinton can't like this.
Absolutely not. There are a lot of powerful people who are waking up this morning to unwanted calls from reporters, I think. As expected, there were a lot of names, famous names, that were released as part of these documents in this court case. Some that I came across while reading it were Bill Clinton, Donald Trump, Michael Jackson, Tom Pritzker, Bill Richardson, David Copperfield, the magician. While none of these people are accused of any wrongdoing as part of this case, and I think that's important to note, it certainly raises a lot of questions for them about what they might have known and, why they were involved in this Epstein orbit.
Right. Such a good point. No suggestion that anything happened, but, they probably knew stuff that has not come out, these 200 names so far.
Right.
What's interesting, though, and I know you referred to this in chatting with one of our producers yesterday, Alana, and that is the fact that when you look at the things that have been said in court cases, et cetera, it sounds like Bill Clinton's relationship with Ghislaine Maxwell, who is behind bars right now, is closer than his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein.
So, ladies and gentlemen, you just look, where did the money go? Okay, $22,000 to Chuck Schumer. Even like you're a billionaire, 22 grand means nothing to you, but it's still money. You become a billionaire because you don't just waste $22,000. That's how billionaires become billionaires. Okay, they're not going to waste, even to a billionaire, especially a person who made all that money, they know the value of $22,000. So they're not just going to waste it. Why would Jeffrey Epps give $22,000 to Chuck Schumer? Why would he accept it and then, of course, donate to a charity and women's group after? And the way that Democrats always do things. They accept the money. Oh, we're going to give it to charity now. It's like, yeah, okay. Why do you have YouTubers starting political action committees? Why do you have AOC being accused of campaign finance violations by Hans A. von Spakovsky, former FEC chairman? Why do you have the Clintons and the DNC paying for the Steele dossier? And that's an actual campaign finance violation. And they paid a fine for that. So the thing is, why did Jeffrey Epps give the money? Is there a reason? Is there a reason that he gave 22 grand to Chuck Schumer other than just he wanted to waste the money? What did he expect from Schumer and Democrats? Okay, what did he expect giving $139,000 to Democrats? Okay, 139 grand, even a billionaire isn't going to waste. Anyway, hit subscribe to this channel. I've been busy writing. I've been busy writing, ladies and gentlemen, and we're going to be published very soon in a number of publications. I can't wait to share with you. Very reputable, beautiful, amazing publications. And God bless you all. Hit subscribe.